What is the most frocking useless thing that they teach in school? To hide under the desk if we get nuked. Left brain versus right brain. Not only is it not true, it just divided all the kids from smart kids to art kids. No need for that. Ignoring the bully. She will go away. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That needs to chance. I'm sorry, but if someone is bullying my child on a day-to-day basis, my son has every right to take charge. How to take care of a baby. By 1. Bringing in an egg. 2. Having the teacher sign the egg. 3. Decorating, protecting, and carrying the egg at all times for 2 days. 4. Revealing to the teacher at the end of day 2 that the egg was still intact, without cracks. All that taught me was how to take care of an egg. Character counts. It was our school's motto. The school also actively punished honesty and integrity when it mattered, and instead held award ceremonies for students who showed basic human decency like, hey, you dropped this in the hallway, here you go. You would get awards for not being a piece of shit. But if you decide to show any real character like stepping up for your friends when they're in trouble, you get detention. Let it be known. Arundel Secondary School in Ontario, Canada is a shithole. Zero tolerance policy is the dumbest thing ever taught and implemented. All it teaches is to fear authority when you're the victim. It enables the perpetrator, who is normally a bully. I know administrators are lazy frocks, but they need to actually investigate the goddamn problem instead of saying, hey, you both were involved in the issue, so you're both going to get punished. It basically just raises you to hate authority. And while I don't like authorities either, I don't think they're all distrustful. Although, I guess this could be interpreted as commentary on how garbage authority is. Not a lesson, but they teach you to respect adults no matter what. That's how teachers get away with so much nonsense. It's how parents get away with abuse. Kids are taught to respect adults, but what they really teach them is, don't do anything to inconvenience an adult. So a kid is more likely to keep their mouth shut if they're getting molested or beat. They need to teach instead that respect is earned and not to blindly trust people just because they have seniority or authority over you. That you have a right to make a judgment on somebody if they're doing something bad. D.A.R.E. was the single worst frocking useless thing ever taught at school, especially when the cop teaching said class ends up getting arrested for coke. That sticking up for yourself is wrong. I punched a kid in the face because he was being physically abusive to me. He grabbed my arms and spun us in circles, intending to let go once I would be sort of thrown through the air. I got an arm loose and punched him in the face before that happened. Instead of him being expelled, a female half his size, was forced to apologize for defending myself. I'm still frocking mad. The idea of ignoring bullies to get them to leave you alone. Sometimes you just gotta stand up for yourself. That if someone's bullying you, you tell them that you don't like it. Like no sit. That's why they do it. Edit. Holy moly, thanks for all the awards. I just started this account and this is the first comment that's blown up on my whole time in Reddit. When I was in primary school, we got taught about digital roots. It's where you take a number, add up all the digits and repeat if you have more than one digit. So 684 equals 6 plus 8 plus 4 equals 18 equals 1 plus 8 equals 9. Nobody else has ever heard of this. Can you run a mile in 7 minutes? WTF no. Lol number 4. 0 for you. Abstinence only 6 ed. I'm from Texas, and in Texas history class we learned way too much about the Battle of the Alamo. That the female body will shut down during rape and she won't get pregnant. Thus babies cannot be conceived during rape. Catholic grammar school. Northern Ireland. Frocking useless, factually and ethically wrong. Not exactly something they teach in general, but in my high school music class, we had to memorize our national anthem in a different language. We used to be a colony and it was originally written in the colonizer's language, and then sing it out loud with the same melody and all, except you're parroting a bunch of words that you don't understand. Over a decade later and I still think it was a pointless exercise. Square dancing. Memorizing the periodic table. It's a table. There is no need to memorize it. All the info is there already. Square dancing. It was put into the curriculum at US schools after heavy lobbying from industrialist Henry Ford. He didn't like the awful, new modern dances people were doing, like the Charleston. I learned how to do percentages wrong in economics. You have to do them wrong, otherwise you don't get marks. To ask to go to the bathroom. That you have a permanent record and every frock up you have will haunt you for the rest of your school life. In phys ed they had us take actual written tests a few times sitting on the gym floor. Questions like where was basketball invented? What are the rules of pickle? Yada yada. Other useless shit. Primary school. Age 4 to 12. If two kids never liked each other for good reasons, the teachers used to force you to be friends, which usually made it a lot worse. So, you're not allowed to dislike people, even if they're mean to you. Secondary school. Age 12 to 16. Getting good grades is more important than your mental health. That if we cover our shoulders and legs, boys will stop looking at us. In my country we do religion. And don't you dare argue with the teacher or ask any questions, cause Jesus is the only answer. Not to chew gum. On a more serious note, that hugging and public displays of affection are bad. Ask me how many times I got detention because of this. You get people in this thread saying teaching algebra or proofs is useless and simultaneously demanding that schools should teach critical thinking. Abstinence only 6 education. Basically just ignoring the fact that teens will have 6 instead of teaching safety and consent. My heart goes out to you. Poem for your sprog with the number of people saying poetry in this thread. At my school it was a whole semester on the Dewey Decimal System. This was in the late 90s too. Computers were becoming the norm, but our old librarian refused to accept them and the school admin didn't care. What a complete waste of time. In my psychology class in high school, we literally spent 2 weeks learning about 9/11, like the event and the aftermath, nothing about the brain or how it works. Me. I'm the most useless thing they teach. I don't think what schools teach is useless, they just tend to kind of hide the real point, which is learning how to learn and how to think. The focus shouldn't be history, the focus should be how do you learn history. What they need to do is stop being outdated. Stop making kids write in cursive if you know the world moves toward typing. Stop making kids do math in a particular way when there are usually many ways to solve a problem. Adapt. Vet your teachers to root out political nuts and glorified babysitters. So much to do, but it's gotta be made a priority and it just isn't. If you're getting bullied, come tell a teacher. Then the teacher either does jack sit or they just tell off the bully and nothing more. And then you end up in trouble for retaliating. That they have a zero tolerance for bullying, but they never help out the kid that's being bullied. Once the bullied kid fights back, suddenly they need to step in. Square dancing. In middle school we had a rule that you couldn't stop at your locker in between classes. Their logic was that you should be prepared with all of your books and stuff for the rest of the day. But my locker was 5 feet from most of my classrooms. I argued that it shouldn't matter as long as you're on time and prepared. My youth left me with a deep disregard for authority that continues to this day. Law. Pledge of Allegiance was another goofy thing. Seemed like early indoctrination into the cult of US nationalism, but they acted like it was just normal stuff. Needless to say, we quickly found out that you can just sit and stay quiet and they couldn't do anything about it. Law. I don't know. But if they don't start teaching people how to spot fake news soon, we're all gonna be living under dictatorship. Edit. Wow. My first Reddit gold. Thanks. Kind stranger. Thanks for the others, too. I had this one class called detention. Didn't learn sit and the teacher was mean as hell. I think a lot of literature. The problem isn't that they teach it. It is that they teach it without context. For example, why is Old Man and the Sea so important? Most classes go, read this book. The kids read it and they go, this sit is boring, why the hell is this important? How stupid were people back then? The context of the various novels we read in classes is very important, and I think many schools gloss over that and leave the students no clue why a book was so important. There was a personal finance class we had. It was heavy on real estate, buying homes, income properties, being a landlord, etc. That's not in itself useless. What was wrong is they skipped balancing a checkbook or budgeting your spending, how to do taxes, how loans work, the basics that you actually should be proficient in. So graduate HS, take out a ton of student loans, rack up the credit cards. History, but only because of the way it's taught. At least in America, my history education was not much more than a patriotic, Southern propaganda class where I memorized dates and names and the fact that the Civil War was fought over states' rights, not slavery. I truly think the only useful thing we learned in history class was things surrounding the Holocaust. The rest was more or less independent factoids about parts of history with no context or connection to one another. And recognize my experience as not something taught in every school in America, but it's common enough in my region of the states that it's contributing to serious problems. And my experience wasn't that long ago. I graduated high school in 2015. Not completely useless, but a skill I hardly use is cursive. Standardized testing. This has to be the biggest clusterfuck of all. They literally teach kids to test. Not everyone learns the same. Why does standardized testing still exist?